In the aftermath of World War II, with Europe in ruins and the world trembling on the edge of a new Cold War, a silent race began. It was not for territory, treasures, or even nuclear weapons, but for the minds behind them. The Nazi scientists, in a secret project called Operation Paperclip, over 1,600 researchers, engineers, physicians, and technical experts from Hitler's defeated regime were quietly relocated to the United States. Their work would help shape not only the future of American technology, but the moral dilemmas of a nation determined to win at any cost. As Berlin burned and the Allies advanced, it became clear that the lessons of Nazi science could not simply be left behind. Reports from the front told of secret laboratories, advanced rockets, jet aircraft, exotic drugs, and chemical weapons, technologies far ahead of their time. Soviet forces moved quickly to seize what they could, relocating thousands of scientists to labor in Soviet research centers and military programs. American intelligence, alarmed by the prospect of falling behind, began the search for their own assets. Teams of officers fanned out across Germany, compiling lists, interrogating prisoners, and searching for valuable technical documents. The new war was not of bullets or bombs, but of blueprints. The program began officially in 1945, though covert planning had started earlier under the codename Operation Overcast. The goal: identify and extract all scientists whose knowledge might help the US gain strategic advantage over the USSR. Later, as secrecy became paramount, the name was changed to Paperclip, after the paperclips used to attach new, sanitized biographies to the files of German scientists. President Truman's order stated that no person known to have been an active supporter of Nazi militarism shall be brought to the United States. But as military leaders and intelligence agencies pressed for results, this directive was quietly set aside. Many candidates had troubling pasts: members of the SS, engineers at concentration camps, and those who directly participated in crimes against humanity. Their expertise proved too valuable to ignore. Perhaps the most famous group under Operation Paperclip were the rocket scientists of Peenemünde, led by Wernher von Braun. These men designed the V-2 missile, the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. Their weapons terrorized London and Antwerp, and slave labor from Mittelbau-Dora concentration camp paid the price. When the war ended, von Braun and his team surrendered to American troops, carrying boxes of critical documents. The US military was quick to act, providing von Braun and more than 100 of his colleagues with new identities, government housing, and contracts to work on American ballistic missile programs. Their work at White Sands and later at NASA played a pivotal role in launching the Explorer 1 satellite and the Apollo program. To the public, they became heroes, men who put America ahead in the space race. The truth of their backgrounds was hidden for decades. Rockets were just the beginning. The US recruited chemists who had developed nerve agents, biologists who experimented with diseases, and physicians whose research at Dachau and Auschwitz bordered on the monstrous. Hubertus Strughold, later known as the father of space medicine, had participated in notorious medical experiments on concentration camp prisoners. In the US, he pioneered aviation stress testing, high-altitude research, and protocols that, ironically, helped preserve life. Walter Schreiber, the head of the Army Medical Service in Nazi Germany, brought his expertise in preventing infections and managing mass casualties. Though his knowledge stemmed partly from brutal experiments, these men were given positions at top American institutions, their Nazi past scrubbed from their personal files. How were these men, considered criminals in Europe, welcomed into the United States? Through a process of bureaucratic obfuscation and clever manipulation. US intelligence officials drafted new biographies, omitting unsavory details, rewriting service records, and in some cases, creating false identities. The Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency (JOA), working with the State Department and military, used every trick in the book, changing birth dates, altering names, and securing travel documents with false credentials. The US Army even wrote character references for former Nazis who were under investigation. Security clearance reviews were routinely passed, and the Attorney General's office signed off on their visas. Family members, too, were brought to America, sometimes under assumed names. The process was kept secret, not only from the public but from other branches of the government. The Soviet Union, meanwhile, did not rest. They established their own program, using camps, threats, and in some cases collaboration, to extract knowledge from former Nazi scientists. German engineering was behind the first Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles, jet planes, and guidance systems. The two superpowers raced to develop nuclear arms and spaceflight, each tested by the ghosts of wartime atrocities and the urgency of national security. Operation Paperclip became a critical edge in America's battle to stay ahead. Chapter 8. Legacy in the Space Age. The legacy of Paperclip shaped America's journey into space. Von Braun's Saturn V rocket powered the Apollo moon missions. His expertise, gleaned in part from slave labor and military conquest, was repurposed for peaceful exploration. Adolf Bisman's swept-wing designs modernized jet aviation. The American pharmaceutical industry benefited from research in medicine and biochemistry. By the 1970s, the US stood as the world's technological leader. Patents multiplied, fortunes grew. Yet beneath the triumph was an unresolved moral question. What price progress? From 1945 to the early 1950s, waves of German scientists arrived at Fort Bliss, White Sands, and Wright Field. They were given homes, salaries, and resources unimaginable in war-torn Europe. Wernher von Braun and his team developed rockets for the US Army, while others began work in chemical weapons laboratories and medical research centers. In Huntsville, Alabama, a little Germany formed. German bakers, churches, and schools appeared in the shadow of military compounds. The scientists' children attended American schools, and within years, many became citizens. Some, like Kurt Debus, led NASA's Kennedy Space Center, while others traveled between Fort Detrick, Dugway Proving Ground, and classified military installations. The era was cloaked not only in secrecy, but in a sense of normalization. Their expertise overshadowed ethical considerations. Journalists and activists began to expose Paperclip. Investigations revealed dark histories, prompting congressional hearings and media firestorms. Arthur Rudolph, architect of the Saturn V, was forced into exile after public outcry over his role at Mitterwald. Hubertus Struggle's reputation collapsed under scrutiny, but not until after his techniques had become standards in spaceflight medicine. Survivors and families of Holocaust victims demanded explanations. The American government largely deflected, citing Cold War necessity. Debates raged. Should America have recruited criminals for expertise? Did new discoveries justify moral compromise? Did the ends truly justify the means? Declassified documents, released in 2025, reveal previously unknown details. Internal memos show military officials arguing over ethics, security, and narrative control. Lists show names previously omitted. Scientists in nerve agent research, medical experimentation, and intelligence who continued research for US agencies like the CIA and Army Chemical Corps. Photos, letters, and personal accounts from families display a complicated legacy. Pride mingled with shame. Gratitude tainted by secrets. This is the story of the scientists who crossed oceans, changed countries, and redefined national boundaries. Their experiments built rockets that touched the moon, but were first aimed at cities. Their medicines saved lives, yet borrowed from those they destroyed. Operation Paperclip is history and master reminder that the pursuit of progress can blind even the best of nations. To understand science, technology, and war, we must reckon with what was sacrificed, forgotten, or deliberately hidden. Thank you for joining Past Unmasked. If today's journey through the shadows of science raises new questions or challenges old truths, Subscribe and continue the investigation. In every archive, a new secret waits to be uncovered. Operation Paperclip's influence persists. American spaceflight, pharmaceuticals, aviation, and defense industries carry its mark. Yet at the heart of this story lies a warning. In times of war and fear, principles often bend, sometimes to the breaking point. Paperclip stands as a testament to genius and monstrosity, patriotism and self-interest, innovation and moral ambiguity. This is the story of the scientists who crossed oceans, changed countries, and redefined national boundaries. Their experiments built rockets that touched the moon, but were first aimed at cities. Their medicines saved lives, yet borrowed from those they destroyed. Operation Paperclip is history unmasked, a reminder that the pursuit of progress can blind even the best of nations. To understand science, technology, and war, we must reckon with what was sacrificed, forgotten, or deliberately hidden. Thank you for joining Past Unmasked. If today's journey through the shadows of science raises new questions or challenges old truths, subscribe and continue the investigation. In every archive, a new secret waits to be uncovered.